Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Let's join them at the coffee shop. Here we are back at the coffee shop, Glenn.
And I love it, Mikey. I'm just in the middle of taking my 17th sip here. So
another week has gone by, another step in the process.
Love going through these steps.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I think it's going to be helpful for me even to go back and listen to the steps and just it's reminders. It's reminders.
So is that why we have so many downloads?
Yeah, that's right. I just keep downloading the same episodes, right? By the way, we do appreciate everybody who's kind of following along on this journey with us. We have one purpose and one purpose only, and that's just to help the next struggling alcoholic. Amen. Period.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And also thank you for those that have shared with the Coffee Kitty and jumped in on social media engagements and emails and just love it.
Yeah, feel free to reach out. It is an anonymous program, so we've got a little form in the back that on the site on the contact us. Sober.Coffee, by the way, right? So
anonymity.
Can you spell that?
I was stuttering problem when I was a little kid. Comes out once in a while. Anonymity guaranteed.
There you go. Love it. So listen, step 11 today.
Step 11's great. Can't wait to dig in. It's a big step for you, big step for me. So here it is. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. Praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out.
Wow.
So normally, and I watch people in the room. I can read people, in business, you just learn how to do that. You know that, Mike.
You see me squirming right now, don't you?
I was wondering why you're spilling your coffee all over yourself. But, the minute the word God is mentioned or any sort of spirituality, I can watch people in the room tense up.
That's right.
Just that three-letter word.
Or squirm.
Squirms. I mean, it's just, and in full disclosure, full transparency, that's how I was. I'm like, hey, this is a God program. I'm out, man.
I'm out.
Because God's not working for me. God didn't work for me, doesn't work for me, But as we've talked about, really the opportunity to unlearn some things and learn new ways of doing things. And I hope part of that comes out today because that's a key part of this step for me. And hey, I'm looking forward to digging in and folks, as we dig through these podcasts, we break them down into 3 sections. We talk about our experience. We talk about, strength, meaning what did we do, right? What did we do in the sober gym?
What did we learn?
What tools? Yeah.
Right.
And then hope, right? So what happened, what is happening, or, what is the hope for tomorrow that things will be better? So,
right.
Mikey, I'm looking, let's bounce it to you. I'll take a couple more sips here and I'm looking forward to hearing your experience with Step 11.
Yeah, so, there's really 2 approaches to my experience with Step 11. One is kind of when I first came into the program and reading ahead in the book, I thought, oh boy, I got to get to that. That looks, not only has that got the most words of any step, but it's got probably the one thing that I was most concerned about embracing was spirituality. But so that was drinking, Mike, right? Came into the program and I thought, okay, same as you. I thought, all right, this is a spiritual program. I'm not the spiritual guy. I'm just not it. I don't think I qualify. I thought it was my out. Okay, I'm not going to get the God thing, so I'm not going to get the program. And I was so wrong because, again, steps 1, 2, and 3 set the table for me. So as I approached step 11, it was still a bit of a foreign concept to me because it was so a foreign concept to me for most of my life. I like to, I think I might have said it before, but, I made a pact when early on in my life that, I wouldn't have communications with my higher power. I wouldn't look to improve my conscious contact with my higher power if I were drinking or abusing drugs. And And so guess what? I was drinking or abusing drugs for most of that 46 years. And so I stayed fast to my rule and didn't connect with my higher power for all that time. It was decades of distance and separation.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and so now step 11 tells me that I have to seek. I mean, the first word is sought, and that I have to seek through prayer and meditation to improve this conscious contact. Let me share one story with you, Glenn. Just to kind of give you an idea where I am.
Love your stories,
yeah,
man.
Well, this one's a bit of an embarrassment, but
that's all right.
So, I would drift in and out of my my religion. I would drift in and out of my religion over the years. I'd go through maybe half sober times, and I'm thinking, I got to get into this, higher power thing. At the time, I called it this God thing. I got to get into this whole God thing. So I would go through the motions, and I would get involved in different aspects of my religion and volunteering to do this and that. And happened upon one day where, I was serving in a capacity at the church, and I was asked to leave. Apparently there was a stench of alcohol, and there was slurring. And
Dude, you got to be kidding me.
No, I mean,
that's awesome.
And guess what I did? I got mad at them.
Of course you did.
The audacity.
Of course you did.
The audacity. So, that was my...
I hope you weren't working with the kids.
Yeah, actually I was.
Yeah.
So it was just, and you would think that would be an eye-opener. It wasn't for me, because I got mad at everybody involved in this scenario, including God. I got mad at God, and how could my life be so off the rails that it would affect even that element of my life? I thought it was a safe zone.
Man, that is a super interesting story. We'll have to dig on that a little bit more. Yeah, again, the words matter, right? So the word sought, that's an action step for me, right? That means something that you got to do through prayer and meditation and prayer. Let me take the word meditation first. So meditation, when you use that word, I thought about those yogis that sit in that position.
Humada.
Yeah, with the fingers up and, the humming. And I mean, that's for 50 years what I thought meditation was. So I had to relearn that. But then the word prayer, right? So my experience with prayer growing up is I sat through church and I listened to the church prayers, and they were going for 11 minutes. And I know that because I timed it, because it would just drive me nuts. And then they would use all the big words, sanctification, and, redemption. And I mean, it was just all, and it was such a bad experience for me. And a lot of my prayers were foxhole prayers. In fact, two of my favorite prayers, one was, God, please stop the shakes. And the second one was,
don't pull me over.
What's that?
Don't pull me over.
Yeah, no, that was the third one. The second one was, God, I want $1 million. Right?
How'd that work out?
So it's interesting. I'll cut right to the chase. As I sit here today, and for years, God never answered those prayers. And I was pissed off. I'm like, this prayer stuff doesn't work. That's bullshit, But as I look back, God did answer those prayers, just in a different way. So God gave me a program that if I did the action steps in that program, it would prevent me from drinking, and preventing me from drinking, stop the shakes, right? And then also, as I look back, God gave me talents that I can use, in the right way to go make $1 million. Not open my bank account today and see $1 million, but if I put on the action steps and do the right things, I can make $1 million. And then real quick, my, as I've outlined before, I grew up, my parents were Christian, very religious, a lot of rules, so I can remember talking to my mom and dad like 15 years ago, whatever, and telling them about my alcoholism. And, my mom's response was, Glenn, just pray about it. I'm like, Mom, you don't get it. I've got like 10 of the top PhDs working on me. I got all this rehabs. I got all this programs. I got a 45-day hospital program. Mom, come on. And all she kept saying is, Glenn, just pray about it. And I actually left those conversations thinking to myself, what a fool. Mm-hmm. And she never really worked in her life. And so I'm like, you have no idea of reality. You have no idea how this stuff works. Like, you don't have a clue, I need significant medical, rehabilitation. And she just kept saying, hey, just pray about it. And as I sit here today, I am amazed. Now, there's a lot between point A and point B, mm-hmm. but I am amazed at how true that statement is.
Mm-hmm. That's what a powerful story. And you're right. The way that my foxhole prayers really shaped my life.
Did they work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to get to the hope section in a second, but yeah, I mean, this prayer and meditation, which again, I had to learn how to pray when I came into this program, because I'd been 46 years away from a prayer. The last prayer I did was at my first Holy Communion, the last earnest prayer. So I had to kind of learn. I had to learn what is pray, and what I learned is that it doesn't necessarily need to be structured and concise and elaborate. What it needs to be is heartfelt. And once I got past that hurdle and could just have a conversation with my higher power, my life changed.
Yeah, this is one of my key areas where I had to unlearn mm-hmm. and learn. So probably the first thing that I've learned through the process, and I'll start with kind of the end, is, for me, prayer changes the prayer, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So the minute I pray, I get outside of me. I'm either unconsciously saying, Glenn, you're not God, you're praying to somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. So we've talked about that in the various steps. So I had to, I figured out that those 11-minute prayers weren't really doing it. Just reciting that was more, rules, right? Or, religious process. And this church I go to, which is, come as you are, and it's more about relationship, spiritual relationship. This pastor gets on stage, long hair, blonde hair dude, right? Tats all over. He gets up on stage and he shakes his head, shakes his hair, and looks up and he says, Daddy, and I literally thought lightning was going to come down. But that was that stuff I had to unlearn. And what I learned from that prayer, and it was a simple prayer, like a child speaking to their father. And what I learned is that, hey, that's the relationship that my God wants to have with me. That intimate, personal relationship. Not with all the rules and regulations and the robes and I'm not dinging anything, but that's just for me. That's not what it's about. It's about the spiritual relationship.
Let me ask you this, Glenn. This is the $64,000 question. What does this have to do with my sobriety? I mean, we get to step 11, and I kind of stopped myself and said, "Well, this is such a focus on spirituality." I mean, this is a program. I came into this program to quit drinking. And now we're sitting here having coffee this morning, and we're focused on our spirituality. Why is this so important to my sobriety?
That is a $64,001 question. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think, and from what I hear from others, it gets us out of us, right? It gets us out of the inwardly focused, right? And it gets us out of us into a power that's greater than ourselves. And hey, whether that's Buddha, whether it's, God from the Bible, whether it's your sponsor, right? I mean, you and I share similar gods, right? There are very successful people in sobriety who live sober lives that don't believe in God, mm-hmm. right? And that's okay. There are people who their higher powers are their sponsor. for them, that's okay. For me, and I'm speaking for you because I know you, God has become our higher power, but it's a different way of looking at that God. It's a different way of having that level of relationship. And for me, it just seems like, I have a partnership. I have a relationship with somebody who's going to get me through the day, without having to take that next drink. And so, spirituality is an absolute key foundational block to my, being on a podcast this morning at, 6:30 a.m. instead of being at the gas station buying vodka.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes it all worth it to me.
Yeah. Then, some stuff I did from a strength standpoint, I start my day, early. Every day, I'm making coffee. I have my quiet time. I have my prayer. A lot of people say, get down on your knees. Dude, I'm not there yet. I've done it once. And maybe that's my own personal way to not fully surrender, right? But I sit in a chair, nice quiet chair, and I do my prayers and meditation. And when I say meditation, I do readings. I listen to quote unquote spiritual meditation. Sometimes I'll listen to some services. There's some, key services that I listen to every week. But I also listen to music because I also think part of prayer and part of what I learned about prayer and meditation is it's not just about me praying. It's about me listening, and having that quiet time to listen, to have things come back. And it's funny because I really believe God speaks to me through people, right? And so it's funny, during that time, I'll hear voices, from the meetings that bring up things that I'm praying about, So you got to have that quiet time to be able to listen. But also, I pray for things differently today. I don't pray for the $1 million anymore. I pray probably half or more of my prayers, I pray for other people. I get outside of myself. I pray for other people, and then I pray for, guidance, strength, courage, patience, understanding, and I also pray throughout the day now. Well, here's what I used to do. Every time I plug my iPhones, that's $1 billion plus industry, right? That's a pretty slick device, right? But even that needs to be plugged in to a power, right? So every time I plug my iPhone in, I'd say a prayer. I just pause for a minute and say a prayer. And I had an old iPhone that needed to be plugged in 10 times a day, so I prayed a lot. But now I got a new iPhone, and now it needs to be plugged in twice a day. So, but it's a regular thing. And when I go into stressful situations, and this is just me, and I'm sure I'm going to get judged for this, but so what? There's times I call my God dude, just because, he and I have a good relationship today, and I go into a stressful situation. I'm like, hey, dude, come with me. I'm not going in alone. Come with me. And the only thing I can say is I started this, I use that faith and fact dial. I started this on faith because it worked for others in the room, and I heard them tell their stories. And so that gave me the faith. I started doing it. And then over time, I've seen so many facts. I just can't argue with it. So it's locked in as a part of my ongoing program.
All right. Can we talk about meditation for a second? You referenced real fast that there's a couple of meditations you listen to. I think for this alcoholic, I had a hard time. My brain was always racing, right? That was my big excuse for drinking for decades is, my brain races. I've got to control my brain, right? So quiet time for me was a real hurdle. And there are tools out there, and I'd love it if you could share some of the tools that you used in our resource center on Sober.Coffee so that people can listen. Myself, in particular, is a selfish request. That stopping, pausing, listening, and I think what I heard you say is you hear responses quietly. You'll replay or hear these voices in a good way, voices in your head in a good way. But you also hear it through people speaking. If you just shut up and listen to people, is that what I heard you say? And is there anything in addition that you do from a meditation standpoint that'd be helpful for me?
Yeah. So there's two different ways of doing I can separate meditation into two different actions or two different categories. One is, for my personal listening, right? Quiet time listening, prayer, for me to hear, for me to get direction, look for God's will and get direction. And that's, so that's the one category we just chatted about. The second category is really interesting. And it's great to bring up. I'm glad you asked. I have a lot of head trash, and I got crazy stuff going on in my head. My head goes 100 miles an hour. It goes at 4 a.m. As soon as I, turn over at 4, my brain clicks on and look out. For a long period of time, early in sobriety, and actually when I was drinking, I'd wake up at 1, and then my brain would turn on, and it was like a mental hell for me. I was trying to go back to sleep. I drank more to go back to sleep, and it was an absolute hell that I was living, because that brain turns on all that head trash, right? So I will say that over time, working this program, my head trash is less. It's still there, still progress, not perfection. But I was in my 2014. I was in my 8-day detox. That's rare. For 8 days, and it was that bad. And I was called into this session with this group session, and this woman comes in. She goes, "Okay, we're going to do guided meditation." And I'm like, "Oh, here comes the yoga positions, right, with the fingers crossed, legs crossed, or whatever." And she did this for 30 minutes. She did this, and I was in so much pain mentally and physically. I was a wreck. And for 30 minutes, I was on some beach somewhere, and she walked through this guided meditation, and I was on this beach, and I can't tell you how peaceful I felt. It just felt peaceful, and then, stopped, and I go back into the group room, and then the hell starts coming up again. Right. But I learned about guided meditation that day. So even today, when I wake up at 2 a.m, that head trash starts coming, and I got a big day coming up. I'm like, I can't get up now. I got to get some more sleep. I will turn on, and I go to YouTube. And if you search guided meditation on YouTube, there are many resources. Some of them spiritual, some of them, I listened to one on Audible. It's a tailor shop, so it's really tight recordings of a guy going in, get suited, get fitted for a suit, and every little button and every little sewing thread has a sound, and there's no way that you can stay inside your head and listen to that, right? And there's a woman, her name is Michelle Sanctuary, and she has this one, Cabin in the Snow. And I'm telling you, there's no way. And if you're stressed out on problems and you're just mulling over stuff and you want to escape, a way to do it without drinking is you listen to Michelle Sanctuary, Cabin in the Snow. Now, she's got a lot of them, but this one, in 3 minutes, you're in the woods. You're walking down a path, it's snowing, you're feeling the snow, you're looking at the cabin, the lights, and then the warmth of the fire. She walks it through and describes it all. Before you know it, I'm outside of my head, and now I'm back fast asleep.
I love it.
So that's just one of the tools from a meditation. They have spiritual ones, they have, she has all kinds.
I really appreciate you just diving into that a little bit, because meditation is new to me. I can only leave you with this beacon of hope, and that is that as my prayer meditation life has improved, I'm not at the end game yet. I didn't cross the finish line, but as it improves every day, I feel better every day. It is working for me.
Yeah, it's as you wrap up here, I'll give folks something to look forward to. There's a guy in my men's group, who was figuring out prayer, and we were working this program. It's a spirituality program. It's a 10-week program, and covers all things about spirituality. Just kind of explore, and so it was like week 3, week 4, we're getting to know each other, and the instructions for the exercise were write a prayer to God, not using church language. So you can't use the word sanctification, right? So we're sitting in this group, and I said, hey, does anybody want to read their prayer? And so this guy raises his hand. Guy's name's Bark. and he has agreed to come on and read the prayer, and I'm not even going to tee it up. I will just say it was the most real, heartfelt, emotional, and impactful prayer that I have ever heard in my life. I mean, it was an absolute showstopper. And, what was really cool from that is what happened afterwards. So we've invited him on. He said he'd come on.
Was that a teaser?
I think that's called a teaser.
Yeah.
But who knows? Let's just call it Mark's prayer, right?
Mark's prayer.
But it's just another example. You don't get these experiences unless you jump in the pool. And that's just an example of jumping in the pool and being in the room where it happens. And I mean, that was so impactful for me, just as, the pastor with the blonde hair saying, "Hey, Daddy," and just some very impactful things that helped me learn about prayer along the way. It was really cool.
But you got to be in the pool.
Yeah.
Want to jump in the pool next week with me?
You have to seek.
You have to seek. Thanks, Glenn. This has been great, man.
All right,
Thanks.
brother. Love you, man.
See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.
Stay safe in the city of Chicago. Beautiful city.